To the ETF Inspector. It's Monday, August 18th, just a few minutes after markets closed for the day, and this is your daily recap video for the Roundhill funds, weekly paying funds. The first three are 0DTEs on the NASDAQ 100, that would be QDTE. On the S&P 500, that'd be XDTE. The Russell 2000 is RDTE. And then we also have thrown in YBTC, which is a Bitcoin covered call strategy fund. All are covered call strategy funds, all are income strategy funds. So we are going to take a look at the trades that they made and see how the underlyings performed for the day. I'm on X at ETF_Inspector1. Generally, when I post out these 0DTE trades, it looks a little better than this, but had to do it from my phone today, so I let you know. I was on a swing stage, so couldn't do the normal thing. Let's see if I can scroll down in case you're new here. This is what it normally looks like. So I've just got all the trades lined up, contracts, prices, and total received. Looks nice and neat. Couldn't do it, but still wanted to get the information out. So took a minute and put it out that way. Making the video early because things worked out in our favor, and it made it to where it's gonna be a lot easier. We don't have to wait and find out. So let's take a look. So down here towards the bottom, almost everything we talk about here except for IBIT is lumped up with our LFGY holdings. But NASDAQ 100 was up slightly, 0.01%. QDTE outperformed, going up 0.07%. SPX, covering the S&P 500, was flat, and so was XDTE. Russell 2000 was up 0.36%, RDTE up 0.39%, and then YBTC has two underlyings, or they have synthetics on CBTX, which was down 0.63%, and IBIT, which was down 0.59%. And now with both of those going down, YBTC was still able to end up in the positive, slightly 0.04%. Let's take a look at the trades that were made. They do not buy to close; they just are cash settled at the end at expiration. So with no cost, that was a full profitable day of 1.1 million. Declaration day. My guesstimate is that they're going to pay 23.75 cents per share. Their most recent was 23.9244 cents that they paid last Friday. If you'd like to see how I came up with these numbers, go back and check out the Friday video right here, Roundhill weekly paying ETFs for these four funds on Fridays. It always includes next week's distribution guesstimate. All right, $866 million in the fund. There was a decrease on Friday of 190,000 shares. People selling out of the fund, and yet there was an increase in contracts on their furthest out of the money calls. That's how they create these synthetics, by buying deep in the money calls and then almost doing a poor man's covered call strategy where they sell calls off of that. I don't know what I was about to say, so I'll scratch that. So that's all we've got to talk about on them. So with the NASDAQ 100 going up just slightly, the value of these calls that they have purchased will go up slightly, but practically won't be noticeable. Next, XDTE. They sold 651 calls this morning at a 6,460 strike price on the SPX. They collected 278,000 or $4.28 per share. I feel like I said something wrong there. SPX ended at 64.5307, so that is below the 64.60. And as you can see, markets are still settling out. So there's there's movements, pennies here and there. It's not going to change by almost $7. So that's why we were able to make this. So paying 0 to close it out. And that resulted in a $278,000 capture, profit, credit, however you want to say it. Again, all of these 0DTE funds declare on Wednesday the 20th. My guesstimate that I came up with on Friday for this was 25 cents per share. Their last distribution last week was practically the same, 24.98 cents per share. There's $417 million assets under management, 9.4 million outstanding shares. Slight increase. Oh, we said flat when we looked at the other. Okay, now it's not so flat, up 0.05%. Either way, it's going to be up or flat a fraction. So these will maybe change slightly. Probably not enough to notice a difference. Next, we've got RDTE. They sold calls at a strike of $22.95, 642 of them, collecting $3.58 per share, or a total of $229,000. When we look at how the Russell 2000 performed today, it was up. I might be a little early, so it's gone up almost a dollar since I decided to do this. 22.94.87 is what it's saying right now. So if that does cross the 22.95 mark, then it will end up having cost them a little bit to settle it. So I will go back and edit my spreadsheet. But as of right now, we are past close. They do continue to settle. As you can see, it just ticked up again. So now it's looking at the it's only 10 cents away. Not the end of the world. If it fluctuates past the mark, then I will adjust this accordingly. But for now, it is below, so they got to keep the full 229,000. I'll check it again later on tonight and make adjustments in the event that it crosses that 22.95 mark. All right, RDTE declares on Wednesday. Most recent, they paid 31.38 cents, and my guesstimate was another 31 cent distribution. There was an increase in shares, people buying into the fund to the amount of 150,000 new shares, bringing them up to 4.4 million. And there's $146 million in assets under management within this fund. If you're ever curious, right, these are what they are holding, the positions. I don't read them out every time, but each one has their own different one. September 19th of this year, 210.50. Then they get some weird ones. December 19th of this year, $241.92. That is the strike amount that is tied to this contract. It's called a flex option. All right, so we will check back with that one later on just to make sure that they didn't go into have to spend some money to settle that out. All right, finally, YBTC. This one's a little different. Now, they do give us their trades as far as the 0DTEs, but they don't give us their trades as far as YBTC. If you go on their website, I'm on QDTE, for example. You scroll down, I'm able to click for their trade and get the information. That's how I got it into the spreadsheet. When you go to YBTC and scroll to the same spot, it's not there. So we know what they have based off of the switchover from last week, what their calls expired, and they closed them out and rolled them. And now we have these, and we know they did it last week because I pulled this information over the weekend. So this trade got made on Friday. They just don't give you the information. So they've got calls for the CBTX at 28.1779, 710 of them. They are now 2.5% out of the money. As of Friday's close, they would have cost 1.9 million to close out. All this information gets gathered from the holdings download, and that is not available till much later in the evening, sometimes not till the morning. So if this were a normal strike price, we'd be able to look that up and find out what it dropped due to today. We know it dropped because CBTX dropped. IBIT, their call sold for 67, and that was going to cost 70 cents to close out as of Friday. Odds are these are very close to the prices that they actually received when they sold these calls, since they made these transactions on Friday. So it just all depends on Friday's movement, how much these changed before close. But we do know that both of them decreased because CBTX and IBIT decreased. So they will be less expensive to close, and we also had another day of time value tick away. Now we've also got our synthetic positions, so they don't do a deep in the money call on these. They create a synthetic position where they buy a call and sell a put at the same strike. Well, 710 of them in this case, 12,500 of them for IBIT, and then that mimics the price action of the underlying, whether it goes up or down, and then they're able to sell calls off of that, because this is practically the same as owning the shares. So before today started, their synthetic, if they were to close it out, would actually cost $125,000 to close out the CBTX, whereas they would make money. They'd collect $900,000 to close out IBITs. That's because it was at 66 and the price was over 66. It still is, but only by a few cents, so that will drop as well. YBTC was looking to be flat when we started this. Excel updates a little differently timing wise with the finance app here, so I'm not sure which one's correct, but I'm gonna guess, especially with it already showing after hours increased, that it probably did close slightly positive. So that's why the thumbnail is gonna show all four funds, QDTE, XDTE, RDTE, and YBTC in green. All right, I've got my guesstimate for YBTC. That is 42.9412 cents. Last week's was 34, so I'm guessing higher. It's based on the average, based on patterns of what they paid. It's based on how their calls went for the week, and how the underlying funds and how this fund performed throughout the week. But again, it's my guess, right? They're not even giving us all the information that we want. So I've just got to do the best that I can. But there's $280 million being managed in this fund, and 5.8 million outstanding shares, NAV, and closing price within pennies of each other. All right, so it's, as of right now, it's looking like we're winning these calls that were sold, but we do want the underlyings to move upwards to increase the value of our synthetics as well. The goal would be to move up and stay, well, if we want to win these options trades, it would be to stay below these sold call strike prices, especially since these guys are not as actively managing these. They're not closing them out and readjusting throughout the week so far as I've seen. Because last week their calls got blown through and they didn't do anything, and then they came back down, and they had never swapped them out. So definitely different than what we see over at YieldMax. Not saying whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. It worked out in Roundhill's favor last week. So, all right, that's all I have for you. Thanks for watching. Keep an eye out for tomorrow's trades. I'll post them when I get them. Thank you. Have a good day.